what's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the West Van Crafting Company again for another episode of ShiftDrink. Today we're doing another absinthe tasting, and today our absinthe of choice is St. George. As you can see, I've already loosed one here. I did this one with sugar. Jonathan was reading that St. George, the distillery, they recommend
no sugar.
So
we're gonna do both and see how.
Yeah. So Jonathan's gonna do his without any sugar in it.
Yeah.
And we will do a little side by side and see what we think. Because I guess some of the reviews people were saying that they thought it needed sugar. So
yeah, the reviews are really divisive. This whole absinthe, I think, is very divisive. The guy who makes this at St. George has been there for 24 years. This is the first absinthe that was made in America and released onto the market after the ban was lifted in 2007.
This was the first?
This was the first, but
really?
He was working on this since 1996. For 11 years, he was tweaking the recipe. That's not why it is divisive. It's divisive because it kind of shirks all of the traditions of absinthe making, or of classic French absinthe, and they do that on purpose at St. George. They're very proud of that. So a lot of people are they're upset about it being non-classic, and the debate is whether or not it's still an engaging spirit, even though it's not classic absinthe. So that's kind of what we're going to talk about a little bit today, and the tasting, along with our tasting notes. You can see it's already
it's got a lot of color.
It's got a lot of color. This, again, already a contentious point. It is a brownish green color, not quite fruit mort, which is dead leaf. It's not a full brown color, but it's still pretty green. Also, this seems to vary from batch to batch, based on
the Leopold brothers.
Yeah,
which we just did.
Based on different photos that I've seen and different reviews that I've read over the last decade or so. So this particular batch is like rosemary color. So what am I calling it? Yeah.
It definitely has a little bit more of that pond water-ish color than the Leopold brothers did, and the nose is completely different. This one as well is brandy based like the Leopold brothers, but
true, but not pisco based.
But not pisco, exactly. Yeah. So it is not quite as fragrant.
Yeah. Look where I couldn't find what they actually use, but they do openly say it's the brandy base that they start with. It's super alcoholic. We are tasting different products.
Well, yeah. Actually, here, let me smell it like that. Because of the loose one, I pick up a lot of lemon balm.
Oh yeah.
Whereas this comes across more piney and.
That's way better than I expected. So here it smells super hot, pine needles, stinging nettles, and star anise. Star anise is I think probably the core of this whole absinthe. When we talk about traditional absinthes, they have the trinity of plants. Those are grand wormwood, Florence fennel, or just Forniculum vulgare. It's the everyday fennel. And then green anise. Green anise is the source of sweetness, a nice green kind of dried flavor, and then also anethol, which is the oil that makes absinthe perform like this. Star anise is not related to green anise, but it has a ton of anethol in it. Its flavor, though, is more of a spice candy, and it is also a lot easier to grow than green anise, and so oftentimes is used to provide the oiling textures, but without the price of a green anise product.
Interesting.
What's part of what makes this absinthe so contentious is their trinity is wormwood, fennel, and star anise. They just forego green anise altogether. Gotcha. So that's all that's going to be in their infusion process before it is distilled from the brandy product. So I'm going to do mine with no sugar. Christian's got sugar in his. This is a 60% alcohol content, so it's 120 proof. So we're going to do about four parts water. That's what they recommend on the site as well, which is nice.
I'll give mine a taste works out, but I'll probably end up adding more water to get it to.
Yeah, let me see if I can get you guys to see this one up close.
See the separation?
Yeah, you can already see I've barely started adding any water to it, and already the bulb of the glass is an opaque, flat, pale color. This like upper part is still super clear, but it won't last long. Oh well, I will say though, the nose already is like whack. Okay, this might be more. This is gonna be fun.
It does have a beautiful loose though.
It is, well, it's beautiful in that it's like really immediate. It's very strong.
Very cloudy.
And so all of the
opaque.
all of the fun stuff that you get to see when watching a luge is like really clear. And this one, it's pretty obvious what's going on. But already that's like almost fully processed, and
yeah, it did. Yeah.
It is like 5 out of 5 opaque.
Like a glass of milk on this.
Yeah, it does look like a glass of like rancid milk that has grass. Has grass in it. Yeah, there's like no opal really to speak of. There's a ton of anethol. Like my whole glass is kind of stained with the milkiness. I wonder what the surface is like really telling us. Not really that much, which is actually not what I expected. There's like no real dimensionality to it. This is a sign of what the French would call badien, which is like, again, it signifies that there's too much anethol, so there's too much star anise used. Again, this is something that they're doing on purpose, so we're going to like forego traditional comparisons and see kind of what is up on the palate.
Taste it with an open mind.
Yeah, let's get it. Safa. The nose is super nice. It's not very strong, but it is like star anise, a ton of that Melissa mint combo.
Yeah. It's very abrasive to the palate. Like, first sip, it just like, I feel like my entire mouth is coated.
Ooh, yeah.
Right?
I'm going to go a little further into mine, actually.
And that might be, maybe that oiliness, just like,
Yeah.
just coating. Yeah.
I'm just curious. I mean, I expect
And I planned on adding more water to mine. I didn't.
it to be, yeah, I expect it to get a little bit leaner, but let's just try it out. There is a really nice honey aftertaste, though, that is like popping.
I do feel like I pick up on a lot of those star anise in there, though.
Yeah, I mean, that's really the dominant there.
Yeah, I mean, that's just like a powerhouse right in the mid palate.
Yeah, that and the fennel. It is like licorice and star anise really heavily dominating the most, like the rest of this.
And I don't know, maybe it is because I put sugar in here, but mine definitely has like a really nice like candied acid right to it.
Mine is not. Mine tastes like tea, like bitter tea.
Tea?
Yeah. Here, let's swap.
Yep. It smells like tea.
Oh.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow.
Actually, maybe I was a little harsh too on the dimensionality here. I think that as I like swirl it with this direct light, it is actually
It is
prettier
rainy
than I thought that
and
it
dark
was.
outside
Yeah,
today,
it's
so
also pretty gross outside.
we're not getting as much of that natural light
All right, switch back to me.
going on here. And yes, that is 100% a different beast without the sugar in it.
What's weird is, in this one, the sugar feels really necessary, but it also brings out this like almost processed sweetness, which I'm very suspicious of, even though I already know that they don't use any artificial sweeteners in their absinthe. It feels very suspicious.
Whereas that just like dries
Yeah,
out
this is
the
here to
palate.
like fight your teeth. And,
Yeah.
Other things that we know that they use are all in the secondary phase, in the coloration phase. Normally in coloration for traditional absinthe, you're going to find just 2 or 3 herbs. That's going to be pontica or petit wormwood, hyssop and melissa or lemon balm. And this one, they're not using really almost any of those. Instead, they're using a bunch of other stuff. They're using mint, tarragon, opal basil, melissa, hyssop, nettle. Okay, so they're using 2 of the classics, but a bunch of other stuff, all in the coloration phase. Again, partially why this is such an off color. It does look like oversteeped tea, now that we say that.
Yeah.
And all those things are bringing kind of like an unfiltered bouquet to the palate.
I don't know about you, but this one definitely would take me a little longer to drink through this glass.
Oh, 100. This is like a dinner.
Yeah.
Yeah. This isn't, I'm kicking it for the day and just want something to sip on. This is like a full meal. I think it is, it's very heavy.
Yeah.
It is actually less tannic than I remember it being. I mean, my mouth is dry, but it's not like, I'm not like dusty over here.
Alameda, California.
It is super savory. The basil, the tarragon. They're getting to the point, I think, on the palate, and I suspect this will happen as we drink down through the glass, where they are really starting to dominate everything else. I always say when we sell this to people, no 2 sips are the same. That it is a bunch of like dried cooking herbs and that it is constantly moving on the palate. And that's, I'm a little relieved to find that's still my experience here. That one would like really wants to come out in the mid palate, but everybody else is like, nope, stay down.
Overall, I would say use some sugar.
Oh, I would say use the sugar for sure.
But try it and let us know what you all think.
Yeah.
You know? It, I guess it all depends on your personal palate. Not everyone is into sweeter things, but it is definitely.
There is a little bit of like I can feel the hyssop and the spice kind of blooming a little bit towards the end of the palate. The finish is actually not that long. I mean, really, considering how much is going on in here, that's really heavy. It doesn't last a long time. There's not an overt bitterness that's like lingering on the palate or anything like that. Yeah.
I will say, now that my palate is a little acclimated and I've had a few sips, it doesn't seem like that. Like I said, that first sip like really felt like a lot. Now it just seems like it's kind of mellowing out.
As your palate is adjusting to these. Also, for the amount of anethol that's in here, my palate is not that numb. Like, there's a little bit there, but it's not like paralyzing or anything.
Not like some of the absinthe we've had.
It's such a curious experience. Overall, I would say fun to have, definitely fun to share. Use sugar. I would say probably with sugar, 4 parts is probably the right space. Otherwise, the flavors get a little too lean, and you're kind of like missing out, I think. But what I think is fun about them is the whole argument about what is supposed to be, what absinthe is supposed to be, is something that is super annoying. If you read, if you're going to try and buy something based on reviews, you have to understand that this is an issue that a lot of people are upset about, and it can really skew the way that the reviews are written. This absinthe is like really engaging, super fun.
Yeah.
It doesn't have any of the like classic textures and flavors or freshness or dryness or like floral aromatics that I would expect or that I come to love from French absinthes, because we do have a lot of French absinthes here. But it is really fun to drink.
Yeah.
It is a solid American absinthe. It is like, it's not really like anything else that we've tasted from our continent here on the
It'd be
videos.
really interesting to try it in some cocktails and see what it's like.
100%. I think that it would be a beautiful cocktail, at least, like to look at. Sideline, I do think that Darjeeling tea hot cocktail that we made
would be great.
dope
Oh,
with this.
100%.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree with that.
Yeah.
It'd be like the perfect cocktail
I think that it would be,
for this.
because that Lucid is bringing a lot more of like cumin, coriander spice. This one was giving us something else that's like really pleasant. Anyway, if you guys out there have tried this absinthe, let us know what you feel.
Yeah, if you have any questions, post those in the comments below.
Yeah, that's all I got to say, really.
Cool. Well, if you haven't already, click that subscribe button so you can see when we post new videos. And click that like button too. Just mash it hard. Just click the like button.
All right, cheers.
Yeah, cheers. Till next time, guys.